Okay, so we can do another CC playthrough, and this one is Keuka Dunes by Dylan Bronson, who we know pretty well. He won the major contest last time out. Clearly a different look this time, and we'll see how that goes. Now, I have played this one already once, so this video might be a little bit quicker than some of the others, because I'm maybe not going to wait on the flyovers as much. Yeah, I'm going to leave conditions as per, because I think digging through the thread there wasn't anything specific. I'm going with pin 2. Now with all of these things, as ever, this is my opinion. You'll get pretty much everything I see. Some of that you'll agree with, some that you'll disagree with, and it was what you were going for. Up to you which bits of feedback you take on board and which ones you kind of hear but don't listen to, I guess. Okay, straight off the bat, I kinda wish the forest came in further. Okay, I like that we've gone with really wide surfaces, loads of space, great for CC. Now, I've seen it with one or two other courses, but really big greens, it's tough to make the angles matter. So I'm interested to see how you've done this. Bunker sculpting here is really good. I like the way that one sits, I like the shape. The mounting in the fairways is good. What I really like is that it's more toned down than most of your usual fairway sculpting, which can be really harsh straight lines. I still think, like, vertically we can maybe flatten out a bit more, so we don't just have bump, then bump, then bump. We can maybe have some kind of sideways flattening. But nice. It's a good look off first tee. Really elevated tee shot. So down and then back up again is cool. Shared loads of space on this green to land it, which this is kind of the other thing with big greens, and as you know I've got experience of this. Not only is it hard to make the angles matter, but particularly with CC, huge greens is going to be tough because you want the slopes to be really playable. So from this hole, it really doesn't matter which way I go. Right. So I can happily take this line with pretty much complete impunity. I don't think that... I mean, unflat tee box. I'm not one of the flatten every single tee to dead flat brigade, but when we're getting this one being like there and this one being sunken, I think we can do that a bit better. I would like the planting to come in more on one side, probably to block out my view a little bit. I think the dunes would, for me, they'd work better if there was they were breaking other things up a little bit, if that makes sense. But sculpting work looks good. So yeah, I haven't mentioned yet, actually, I don't think. We're now into round 2 of judging, so that's why this one's one I've already played before. It wasn't in my first round judging, but I figured it might go a little bit further, so I played it anyway. I do like the dune work around here. It's nice, and the green side's good. Still don't think the angle really mattered, but you know what, for a first hole I'm not so fussed on that. Not a good shot, but oh well. 156, so slower greens, which I guess makes sense. I'm gonna, as a prior warning, I will take a little bit of time to get used to these green speeds. I'm very much used to higher ones. Okay. This is going to sound a weird comment because it's a par 3 and we've just played a par 4. Visually, there's not a whole lot different with this hole, I don't think. Like, would be nice to have something, I don't know, a little more distinct with this one. I love the green site, I love this bunker. I love the way it's going to filter onto the front and you can use that. Slope on the front of that green looks pretty brutal. But I guess it depends where you put a pin. I like that you've made the fairway surface really wide down here. Looks like a nasty runoff, but I like that you've given the width you've given surfaces is great. Oh, and sorry, I'm sure that tee box was flat. Huh, well, we got a lucky break. And we make the most of it. Lighting's good. Works nicely. That little bit of planting we just saw there as well was really nice. Yeah, again, it's just, I think this is in desperate need of some more little tree patches, so where you're winding in and out of trees a touch. Just something to break it up, and holy Jesus, this green. Okay. Trying to work out if that's the light. I think you've buried a few too many trees there. Okay, short par 4s I'm usually a fan of. I also feel we've had 2 par 4s now that have just gone way down and then way up. Kind of to make the sight line easier, I think. And I get that we're playing in a valley, but I don't know. I think it's a... cheap is the wrong word, but it's dipping way down is a very easy way to make your sightline look better. And I don't know that you need to put... I'd have liked to see more variety in how you've used elevation in hole 1 and 3. This runoff... I mean, this pin in general... I think we're kind of at a stage where if we're using this much red slope, why is this mode as green? Like, if you're drawing the green in and around here, and I get there's fairway roll off and whatever, but if it's just rolling off there, it's going to keep going anyway. I don't know. I'd be interested to see the percentage of actual usable space you've got on this green. You know, but that said, the big slopes I do like because it gives me choices of how I attack the green, where I go, and I think I want to go down here. We'll just hit somewhere down there. Yeah. I'll also be honest, I don't love the giant hill that we find ourselves on up here. I don't know, it feels like we've got one very flat plateau that we've kind of created, and because we've got to go 43 feet up here, everything here to here is not unusable, but if we're looking for CC, there's better ways to accomplish this shot. I'd be dunking this fairway down about 10 feet still, smoothing the hell out of this, because this is now guesswork, and for guys like myself who are on CC, I mean, I've got the better angle, so we're kind of okay. But 112, up 43. And we can pretty much hit to the fat of the green. So I'm not saying it's too difficult, but I think you could make it a lot easier for people. Oh, and we've got an illegal pin, and in fact the whole of this is borderline. I don't know, I think this green you've just pushed too far generally. I mean, I'll being completely frank, that tiny illegal pin does not bother me. Like one little bit of yellow in the corner, not a problem whatsoever. The bit that worries me slightly is how close that green was to yellow the whole way, because I don't think you need to you don't need that, really, not in this contest. Major maybe, well, major definitely. kind of the same thing with the look. I would love some of this planting to be coming in closer and actually feel like I'm in the trees a little bit more. We've got another hole that's going dead downhill. Have we gone up? No, we've gone uphill on that last approach, I guess. And we're on, what, par 4, stroke index 5. And again, because the green is so massive, and I like that you've not tucked the pin right up against the slopes. That's a good move on a CC. I actually think you can probably play with bringing it a bit further in. But the problem is then that it makes the angles matter a little bit less, which really means it's all approach shot. I like that we've got this bit flat, which is presumably your ideal line. This is good design. And then this bit low, so it tapers off, and if you're slightly off line, then you're falling down there. We'll give this side a go. Let's challenge this hazard. Yeah. I mean, I'd have liked to have held that, but I'll put that on me, probably. You'll know whether that's played the way you want it to. I do like the bunker shapes generally. I think this one's really cool. I think it gets a little bit messy in and around here, but I guess that's the look you're going for. I don't know, I've never really understood this look. I mean, yeah. But that's a me thing, that's not you. Having said we haven't pushed this, we're on a red slope. Par 4. Yeah, I guess it's par 4. It's a tough par 4. Particularly to a back pin. Hopefully the wind brings it in a little bit. I mean, this is, being honest, this is the sort of course I would love to see on CC. Width and angles and not overly punitive if you're slightly offline really suits my game, and playing to putting generally helps. I don't love these sorts of greens. I don't tend to get on with where it's one continual green slope, but then that's probably because I don't tend to design those sorts of slopes. Okay, hole 5. Yeah, I'm really feeling a bit of visual monotony. I mean, like, it all looks good, but it all looks exactly the same, really. In a way that Quincy didn't. And I get it's kind of more of an atmosphere course than or environment course than it is every hole's got a different look or what have you. Can we go down here? Guess we probably can. I don't think that's designed, but I feel like that's going to get me a better angle if I hit it. And we're probably a bit too close to the tree. We'll see. Nah, we're good. Might need a bit more club. Let's go with that. Yeah, I think that was the play to that pin. It really opens it up. Which, I mean, it's a shame to bypass all of that strategy. I think this is part of the risk you take when you go with treeless courses. And I guess that tree was kind of put there because of that, but that tee shot's still very doable, and I would take that line to this pin every single time, because it takes out that runoff massively. Can't hole a putt though, so. Okay. Par 4s have all been pretty short. Apart from, oh, sorry, not all. The penultimate one wasn't hole 4. Light is a little bit blinding here. It would be better if we were able to hit it at an angle. Kind of hit to the flat part, I guess. Some of these fairway slopes are a bit wild, I think, for me. Not by much, but they're a touch too far, I think. There's a good look into this green. Again, problem is I kind of feel like I've seen it before. Oh, get a bounce. Thank you. I do like that you can play into areas. It's my sort of course in that regard, where you're not really hitting to a perfect number, you're kind of hitting around the right place. So I think we've been mostly into the sun so far, so presumably we're now heading back down the other way. Is ever yeah, I don't know. I like this green though. This is probably your best green site, I think, so far. Looks really natural. Oh, by the way, I'm not really touching on many of the basic stuff like bunker sculpting, etc., because that's generally pretty solid. I would say that your fairways here are way... I guess it can be kind of random, but I feel like some of the fairways have been super undulating, some of them really haven't. This is also a very short par 5. Presume it's by design. Is this meant to be a 5? I'm going to check. 1 second, I'll leap to your thread. Because I'm not convinced. I kind of get that it's probably a half par hole. 1 second. Hole 7. It is meant to be a par 5. I think this one would have been better as a 4. There's no... I think for par 5s, there's got to be a real risk. Not necessarily a real risk, but a reason why you might lay up. I don't know if anyone would ever lay up on the approach to this green. Not with 8-iron in hand. I mean, that putt should be for birdie, not for eagle. And I do get your quote that you've posted about difficulty and all that. I don't know. I feel this course is trying... No, I'm going to hold that comment. Yeah, this pin is ridiculous at CC. This is not a CC pin. Because there's... well, we'll see. I have said I'm going to hold judgment, so let's give it a go. Okay, so we've hit fast, so it's not a good swing. How much do we get punished? Okay, I tone it down. I don't think it's ridiculous. I do think it needs softening. Oh, hate slow greens. Somewhere there? I think there. That's all on me. I don't know. Okay, I think generally, if we're going 220 yard plus on a par 3, we need to make the green really accommodating if you're going CC. That one wasn't. Yeah. So we're doing the same I don't know. I feel like I've had the same look, one of two looks off most tees, which is either we're hitting way down to go back up, or we're just hitting pretty. Everything looks really downhill. I just think this course desperately needs something to break it up. It's all solid. It's all good. But yeah, I think partly it's the width as well. I'd like to be thinking a little more off the tee, but I don't really feel like the angles matter as much as they could, because the greens are so big. And trust me, I'm well aware that's a really tough tightrope to walk. And I get they matter a little bit, but I don't know. Because either we've got the massive red slopes, in which case it can be too harsh, or we don't have them, in which case it's too straightforward. And there have been a couple that have been about right. I'm not sure if I've commented when they have been. See, this is nice. We've got here. I like that we've got a bit of visual breakup in that the green's initially hidden, and hey, we've got some trees and planting. And I just wish we'd done that more. I'd love to see a forest all the way down this side. Would help this course so much, or just something. Yeah, this camber's a bit. It's not even that short a hole. I think this is too severe for CC. And by too severe for CC, I don't mean like we can't play it. I just mean you're going to be punishing good shots for that level. And I get part of that test is getting people to see it, but essentially laying up to hit to a tiny tier with a 3-iron or a 5-iron. Yeah, I don't know. I think I like the idea. I think that's it really, essentially. I really like the idea of having the camber go down here. It's just too harsh in terms of how steep it is, because if I'm hitting there, I'm bouncing off. And I'm not saying hit the middle of the fairway should always stay on the fairway, but CC level on a longish, well, one of the longer par 4s we've got. Let's have a little look. 478 is the second longest par 4 we've got, and you've basically taken middle of fairway out of play. Which, fine to do this on a short hole, all good. Or make the camber softer so that you're standing on a side slope, also all good. But I think part of it's to do with how you're flattening it as well. And because we're doing the hard brushes in through here, you're getting some really flat areas and then some areas that are just very severe. Somewhere over here. Well, that's just not a good swing. Now, I will say, I am completely fine with being punished by being on a really high upslope here, short of the green, because there's no way you should, like, greens this big, you shouldn't be missing them that much. I will say I don't think you needed to bury the trees, or at least not as many of them. The grey rocky look with this, I don't think you need it. I wonder whether some placed heavy rough texture could have worked a bit better. We nearly got there. Now, looking at my scorecard at this point in time, I wouldn't say I've played too badly. I haven't played brilliantly, but I haven't played too badly. 3 under at this stage. This would definitely be on the more difficult end of CC courses. Yeah, again, I'm still feeling that make the greens smaller, make the tiers less harsh. Because if I'm missing this even slightly, I am potentially rolling all the way down. I mean, I think it's a 5 iron, but we'll see. Hopefully that makes it. And I do like that there's a little backstop to help me. So that's all good. Ugh. Thought that was turning a little bit more. I don't actually think, for a course that's pretty short, I'm not sure there are all that many scoring opportunities. I think, so I play on CCA, which is going to be the top end of where this would be aiming, and it'd be a good test there. This couldn't go on CCM, I don't think, just because of the severity of some of the slopes. Actually, you know, it probably could, but I think, yeah, we've got a T-box thing again. I don't know, once is fine, a couple of times and we start going, we should be checking that a little bit more. And they're not, it's not like they're slightly out. Yeah, see this, compare this to the approach on 7. Like, this is a par 5 approach because I've got inherent risk if I go for this. I'm not sure this pin's actually very accessible at all. But that's okay, because I have an option to lay up. Now, when we start considering those layup options, I mean, I guess sort of down here I'd have liked this, I'd have loved this area to be even more flat. Like putting a spine through the middle, by all means, but let's make it less severe so that, where am I laying up here? Well, I'm not laying up there because I'm kicking somewhere down here and probably into heavy rough. So if we're not laying up down here, maybe to here, but I run the risk of hitting off there, and yeah, that probably is my layup, but then to this pin, that's a bad layup. So that's okay. So down here. Now actually in this case I don't really have a problem with laying up with a 9 iron. I guess that bit's flat. I don't know. I think we could have done a bit more with that little layup area bottom. I'm also not sure why this fairway's really here. I get why it's here. I think I'd have sculpted that down. Probably just bring this bunker in as part of this. Lose this bit of fairway, run the fairway round to there, lower this, more bunker. Would make way more sense to me. Anyway, I need to hit a shot here. Have to be a 1 iron with a bit of fade. Not my favourite. Not with a fast either. But that's probably alright. The two chipping swales really don't make sense to me, and actually you've got a really harsh, ignore the black line, that's just because of the camera angle. You've got a couple of pretty harsh transitions because of these chipping swales you've created. I don't know. I don't see why we'd be mowing just a bit of grass here that's not green. Either make it green or make it heavy rough. Unless we're encircling the whole green, in which case this needs to be a straighter line. Just the wavy lines in and out don't really make a whole lot of sense. I'm nitpicking there. But I figure that's what you're after. I like that it's a very benign pin if you actually hit the tier. Look, wasn't even sure whether I was going to hit that putt, so that swing line's great. Short 3. We 100% do not need this bit to be green. Same comment about chipping swale. I'm all for a short 3. This is good. I have to say, I do think it looks really similar to pretty much all of the other 3s. Oh, we nearly made a putt. Is this that fairway we cut onto a while ago? No, it's not. Oh yeah, it is, further down. So we can clear those 2 bunkers, which is all fine. Again, that lands really harsh. I'm gonna hit this because I'm just intrigued to see how it reacts. I think I'm kind of coming to the conclusion that what I'm not in love with some of the undulations is the fact that it's kind of guesswork as to whether you're hitting a flat part of the course or not. So on that one it's just, well, we've ended up on a flat bit, but if we go, yeah, it's really hard to put into words. Undulations are tough to get right, I think. I don't think this has quite nailed it. I don't think you're far off, but I don't think it's quite nailed it. I think it's also the second par 5 I've had a low iron in, which one of them you can get away with, 2 of them I'm not really a huge fan of. Not a great putt, but I think that's kind of massaging my scorecard. I do generally think this course is a bit too hard for CC, and it's being masked by the fact that I've got 2 eagles on par 5s that should have been 4s. Really. Now I can see why that one isn't a 4. That one's more of a 5 than the other was, but equally the green on the first one was more of a par 5 green than the other was. And this green just feels generally too big. And I know, pot, kettle black and all of that, but and I did have a good bit of feedback from Reeb on green sizes from Black Salt actually, which was at a certain point they start feeling a bit disconnected between different pins, and that was part of what I loved about Black Salt, but I realised I knew them way better than anyone else, so I could see how the slopes and things interacted. Whereas when you're just hitting to one pin, you just see, oh, we're hitting over here, and then another day, oh, we're hitting over here, and another day, oh, we're hitting over here, and it all seems just disconnected. And it took me a while to really get that comment, and I think I do now. I kind of feel the same here. It's just like I can see where your 4 pins are going to be. We're going to have one there, one probably middle black, one right, and one short. But it's going to feel like, it's not going to feel totally like a different hole each day, which I think if you're going to have a hole feel different on different days, don't make it radically different on all 4 pin positions, is probably what I've learnt. Right, let's have a mixture. Seabotch is absolutely racing through some courses. He's just having a few fly-throughs. I think I'd also have loved to see a bit more ground game available on this course. I can see how the ball reacts once it hits the green, but I would love to have this bunker back a little bit and have the chance to land it over and roll it on. As it is, it's just I mean, okay, it's semi-blind, but it's kind of a pretty standard par 3. I mean, pretty standard is unfair, but I wouldn't say any of the par 3s to me have really been standouts. Not in the way that some of your others have been on previous courses. There we are. And I like that the greens are forgiving in spots. Oh, finally we've got some woodland. But it does now kind of feel a bit... now feels like it comes out of nowhere a little bit because it's been so infrequent. I'd have also expanded your planting around these because it just feels a bit like... It takes a while to get this, but it feels a little bit like, well, we've got some trees, therefore we've got to have some bushes underneath them. Whereas here looks way better. Just these ones. Here looks good. I will actually say I don't really have a problem with the red slopes on the greens generally. I think they've been done pretty well. I've got more of an issue with the fairway sloping. I mean, they are kind of still Dylan greens in that I think you'll know what I mean. They are basically just tiers still. There's a little bit of difference, but I mean, with this one we've still got a tier and a false front. And I think if you hit to the wrong part, of the greens, you're screwed. But you'll have hit a really bad shot, so I'm okay with that. The fairways, though, I feel aren't necessarily rewarding good shots as much as maybe they could do. In that you might have, this is the best look on the course. It's because there's variety. There's stuff to break up the sand, and the sand dunes look great. And oh, I love the way that we're turning around and we're seeing this. This is your best hole by miles, and I haven't even played it yet. Green's still the green's a bit big, but yeah, I'm a huge fan of this. Okay, so we can take on the corner if we want, and I like that you brought bunker into there. I mean, strategically the holes, they've been solid. I wouldn't say that I think there have been good lines to take and less good lines to take. I'm not sure they've mattered all that much. So like here, I mean, whatever I do, I'm approaching this from the same side, so it's really just how much of the dogleg do you want to cut off? Which is fine, that's a good strategy. I feel like for all the width you've given me, I haven't really had very many choices to make. And I am being super nitpicky, because I know that's what you value as well. And I haven't said all this. I hope I've said enough of the stuff I really like. Still think this is the best hole we've got from a visual standpoint. Yeah, pulled that. Oh, pin looked interesting from that angle. I mean, I don't love the clubhouse. I think it's far too OTT. I just don't think it fits. I don't understand why it's a castle. So I have played this hole before, and I'm glad that the woodlands are coming in. This is just a weird hole. And I don't think it's a finishing hole. Like, I get the idea here, but the really wide to really narrow where, I mean, you're never going to be laying back here. Maybe pro clubs, maybe into the wind, but I don't know. I feel like if you're a real life golf architect, you are never going to use this piece of land this way. You'll be bringing the tee back and having a par 3 coming through there and having a green out here somewhere. Or, I just don't know, but you wouldn't do this. I don't think. It's just bizarre. And it also feels like I'm hitting into a random shoot and it's like, let's see where it takes us. So let's do that. And don't get me wrong, I really like the feel in here of like suddenly having claustrophobia where we've not had any. That's all good. I'm a big fan of that. I also like this little shelf on the green. I would prefer it if that had been sunk down. This whole shelf had been sunk down about a foot, but that's fine. Side hill lie. Well, this is not an easy shot. But I think what's confusing me more than anything is just this isn't an 18th hole. It's so out of character with all of the other holes you've done. Like we've hit the trees in like the last 2 holes, which desperately needed to come into play earlier. This is like your 9th hole. I can probably get on board with somewhere in the middle of the back 9, 13 odd would be great for this. As an 18th, which is supposed to be a standout like closing hole, give us a real reminder of what the course has been about. Oh, that's a dreadful putt. Or a real grandstand finish. It's a short par 4 where you're kind of choking into have to hit driver, and I don't know, it feels an odd choice. Anyway, so scoring wise, scored pretty well. I actually think but I do think that's masked by these 2 par 5s. In fact, all 3 par 5s were pretty short, which I guess is to be expected when we're under 7,000 and par 70 is good. Okay, I'm going to go through what we've got as kind of rubric, it's all for guidance anyway. Playability and shot values. Also, this will be one of 2 playthroughs I do before deciding my final score. Although in your case I've done the 2 already, so I can talk about it on different pin sets. Playability and shot values. I don't think the angles mattered as much as they could have done. I think the fairway slopes were a bit too randomly punitive. I think good shots were rewarded. Bad shots weren't overly punished. I think you got that bit really right. It's upper level of CC probably. I mean you could ramp the wins up, but difficulty for me. I don't think it's the best fit for CC in the contest, but it's not an issue. I don't think. Beyond that 1 par 3 that I thought was a bit borderline. I would have liked more of a chance to work the ball into greens. When you've gone with that many undulations, it would be great to have more run-ons, and part of that is also weirdly to do with the fact that the course is very short. It's very hard to make me want to hit a ball running into a green when I've got a wedge in hand or 8-iron into a par 5. And actually the one long iron I had into a par 5, which was 12, there was no way of running it into the green because there was a short slope in front of that bunker that would have kicked me way back and left, and right at that little bunker in front of the green was just unusable fairway. I think that's a good chance of where you could give more ground game. Yeah, technical execution, fairway sloping is one, green sizes, and I didn't catch any of the big tiers, and I get that they're backstops in places. I just don't think you needed them. I think you'd have the same effect and better with smaller red slopes, if that makes sense, like 1 or 2 boxes most. Kind of like weirdly like your usual. Or with big greens like this, I wish you'd not gone the tiered route and gone with more humps and bumps in the middle of them, or spines or ridges. Like we had that little shelf on 18, that was nice, but I'd have gone a bit more wild with them, because they kind of felt like they'd just been dead flattened and then a couple of tiers popped in, which didn't feel like it really fitted the land as much as it could have done, or gave as much variety as it could have been. Aesthetics and environment, as I said at the start, it desperately just needed trees more or planted areas to break up the endless dunes. I'll be honest, I can't visually remember any of the holes from the front nine looking back at the scorecard. Like, as in, I've got a really good feel for the environment, and I like the environment. I think there could have been more spots, but there are none of them that are leaping out at me right now going, like, if you ask me to describe hole 1, I'm struggling. Hole 2 was a par 3, and I think there was a dune short left, but really that could be referring to lots of them. Hole 3, I think, was uphill, but I'm not sure. Hole 5 I can remember because the length was the long downhill one. But as you can see, I'm really struggling. I can't remember, oh, it was that one because of that look, and that's where I think the planting has kind of let you down a little bit, or lack thereof. That said, the environment itself was nicely done. The technical execution-wise, otherwise, it's all good as expected. A couple of tee boxes that were egregiously unflat, shall we say, but minor. That one tiny bit of yellow in the pin, but I don't care. Yeah, routing, flow, cohesion, variety of holes. I think this is kind of a big one on this course because I really just feel like I've hit the same approach shot a number of times. There wasn't that many times where I felt it was vastly different, or there was a hazard in a different place, or I was trying to work a ball into a... I don't know, but I think part of that is the fact that I've not hit a wood into any of the holes. The par 5s were all super short. We hit an iron into every single one of them. That doesn't help. In fact, if I hadn't laid up on a couple of holes, I wouldn't have hit 2 wood at all in my round, which I think is a missed opportunity. I don't really think there was a great deal of like proper risk reward on this course. I would have liked to have seen, I think you could have made a super short par 4. Like, if we're going 7,000 yards, let's give us a drivable par 4 surrounded by bunkers or something. I don't know. I think that's kind of where it's lacking. We fell a lot into the 410 to 470 range, and it was kind of hitting 9 iron or wedge or 8 iron into a lot of holes. I think that's it. I think that's all my comments. I'm aware that most of them are nitpicks, and that's kind of the nature of this. I do like the course quite a lot. I think, and I also like that you have stepped outside your comfort zone a bit with this. I think there's still a few things that are inside your comfort zone that you've transferred across, which is natural, and I reckon if you pushed yourself out of that a bit more and tried to do some of your flattening a bit differently, like with the terrain, rather than using the hard flatten brush, use the raise on soft brush, and you'll get slopes that you didn't really anticipate. And a lot of the slopes I felt actually didn't affect play that much, which was a shame, because I think this had a chance to be really good with the ground game. So yeah, I hope that helps, and I'm sure you will, but do reach out if you've got any questions or things you'd like to query, or just have a back and forth, because you're a really good designer and you know your stuff. So a lot of this is debating choices rather than execution per se. And there'll be some things where it's like, I'm completely wrong and you're right, and vice versa. That's all fine. But yeah, those are my thoughts, and good luck in the contest. I hope it does well for you.